Now,
on News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 6:06 here on this Tuesday morning, 17th day of October. Thanks for joining us on O'Connor and Company. And thank you to Andrew Langer, filling in on Friday and Monday as I did my annual trip to visit my dad back west. And it's good to see you, Julie Gunlock.
Good. I'm glad you're back.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back. There's a lot going on in the world. Coming up at 6:35, Sheriff Mike Chapman trying to keep Loudoun County the safest county in America. He wants your vote. We'll tell you all about it. It's 7:05. Adam Credo of Washington Free Beacon will amplify what we were just talking about, the Iranian sympathizers embedded in our government, thanks to Joe Biden. And then at 7:35, Dr. Jennifer London, she's got a new book called Profiles in Character, and we're going to talk about that. Joining us right now, speaking of Loudoun County, is one of Mike Chapman's deputies, deputy sheriff in Loudoun County. He's a father, and he's now running for the school board at-large seat in Loudoun County. He joins us now. It's Michael Rivera, and you can go to riveraforschools.com, riveraforschools.com. Mr. Rivera, thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Larry and Julie. It's great to be on.
I got to say, this is, a lot of times people look at American politics and they think, well, I just really can't tell the difference between these two. And it's just, but not in this race. Michael Rivera versus Ann Donahue. Let me just say, Mr. Rivera, before we get into who you are, let's talk about who Ann Donahue is, the woman you're running against, because she advertised in an event this weekend where she said on the I'm reading the flyer now. It says, "Are you tired of the so-called parents' rights extremists attacking our kids and public education?" So any parent in Loudoun County who is advocating for parents' rights in our school system, according to your opponent, they are extremists. What do you say to that, sir?
So it's a little astounding that someone that actually works for the Department of Justice, she's an attorney, she chose the word extremist for an event that she supported. Of course, her organization said, that's not our event. We were just advertising. That's not necessarily, she's not the one that thought about it.
I'm looking at it right on her own tweet saying, everybody come out to this event.
Wow.
Where she's now they're denying it. That's even better.
I wholeheartedly agree. And the thing that we need to understand is that word has a lot of negative connotations to it. And, recently we've engaged with the Muslim community, we've engaged with the Christian, Orthodox Christian community, with the Hispanic Christian community, and to label parents extremists in Loudoun County of all places is a little tone deaf. And you're right in saying that we are not all the same. Although she says, we're for parents' rights and we're for, safe students, you have to really ask, what does that mean, right? And to her, parents' rights are her parents' rights, not the parents' rights of the people that have been coming to school board meetings for the last 3 years, complaining about poor achievement, complaining about unsafe conditions, and complaining about cross-sex bathroom usage. That's a fundamental difference between candidates right there.
Yeah, Michael, one other thing that's really interesting about this tweet that Ann Donahue put out is she says, mainstream moms speak out in Virginia. And what's so interesting about that to me is that there are so many moms out there in Loudoun, in Fairfax, in Prince William County, all throughout the Northern Virginia and Maryland as well. Let's not forget also DC, who suddenly have become political because of what they saw through COVID, through the shutdowns, through the masking, and also through CRT and some of the gender ideology that's been put in schools. All of these moms who are now standing up and disagreeing with this, many of them weren't really involved in politics. How are you reaching out to those moms who might not necessarily see themselves as Democrats or Republicans? They're more independents and they kind of call balls and strikes. How are you reaching out to that demographic of parents?
So one thing that we're noticing as a slate of candidates is that universally across Loudoun County, parents are receptive to our message of depoliticizing and removing ideologies from the school system. And so we've always said that education is nonpartisan because everyone wants a good education for their child. And to be honest, people are sort of self-identifying as wanting to change the system. So we're seeing Democrats, we're seeing Republicans, we're seeing independents, and essentially what we're seeing is concerned, loving parents wanting the public school system to get back in line and stop pontificating that they know better than parents for raising children. And that's the fundamental difference between the conservative candidates and the progressive candidates, that we believe that parents have the right to raise their children.
Michael Rivera is our guest. He is running for school board member at large in Loudoun County. That means everyone in Loudoun County can cast their vote for Michael Rivera, riveraforschools.com. Sir, whenever I speak with a candidate for school board, I end up getting messages on social media and emails from parents of special needs children, and I'm a parent of a special needs child, who really were voiceless during the pandemic, who got left behind even more than typical kids, non-special needs kids. And I'd love to ask you if you have a plan or if you hope to sort of reinvigorate and make up for the lost time that so many parents saw during that time, and how their children really were neglected and ignored by the school board at that horrible moment.
So I wear the badge of a special needs parent proudly because my daughter is severely disabled. And although she doesn't have cognitive skills and ability to learn, I'm very sad about the fact that there are children out there that can learn and they're not getting the services they need. First and foremost, we need to engage the parents and the teachers and the aides in the special needs community to understand what's happening on the ground. If you want to find out what's going on in the battlefield, you ask the troops. And the communication between staff and the administration and the school board has been absent. And that's my first goal, is to engage people. We need to get people to tell us what's going on, where do monies need to go, and start right-sizing the administration so that we can funnel money back into teachers, aides, and support staff for not only special needs, but all children, because the primary function of the school system is to educate children, not have a bloated administration.
Well, I didn't know that about your child. God bless you, sir. I'm glad to have you in our ranks.
Yeah, I just, safety is something that parents are also concerned about, and we've seen some pretty concerning things, videos, and just, police reports about the conditions in schools. And certainly, one forgotten thing here is the condition of what teachers face in these schools. Randy Weingarten certainly doesn't really care about the safety of teachers. But what's your position on this, and what do you think the most important thing is to tell parents about the level of safety they can expect from their schools and for the staff there?
I think that all parents should know that their children are safe when they go to school. The fundamental elements of the lack of safety in school and the lack of safety for teachers are discipline policies.
Yep.
We need to make sure that parents and children are held accountable for their actions. So if you come to school and you break the law, the Code of Virginia, and you bring in narcotics or vape products or alcohol or anything like that, you need to go to the juvenile justice system. Now, understand that the juvenile justice system doesn't revel in putting kids in jail. It's a restorative system. It looks to make sure that kids know that they made a mistake and helps them to reform. But if you just let kids do these things and you don't hold anyone accountable, they will continue to do those things. And also, I think it's wholly unacceptable for teachers to fear for their physical safety in schools from students that are emboldened to either threaten them, hit them, follow them out to their car, and things like that. We haven't gotten as bad as some school districts, but we need to nip it in the bud and make sure that kids and their parents are held accountable for the child behavior.
All right, Michael Rivera, running for school board in Loudoun County. It's riveraforschools.com. We're about to talk to your boss, Sheriff Chapman. Anything you want me to tell him? Are you going to be coming in late today or anything like that? Do you want me to?
I think we need to reelect Sheriff Chapman. He's doing a great job in Loudoun County. I tell people over and over again, this is a very safe county, and the crime that we do see here is imported from the surrounding jurisdictions, which is kind of crazy. It's so safe that people come here to commit crime. So
That's like
I
criminal tourism. Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
I don't know.
basically.
All right, Michael Rivera, thanks for joining us, and we'll let the boss know that you did a
Thank you
really
so
really
much.
good
You guys
brown
have a
nose
great day.
action there. Yeah, all right, that's good. He's what a kiss up, unbelievable.
Stop.
It's
WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Live.
From the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
News is brought to you by New Look Home Design.
On the next Vince Colonnade show, an Obama judge attempts the impossible, silencing Donald Trump. Join us 3 to 6 here on WMAL.
It is 6:18 now. Julie Gunlock, you look at the world around us, you see who are the major oil producers in the world now that we've taken ourselves out of the market, right?
Oh, someone starts with an I.
It's going to be Iran and other hostile nations in the Middle East.
That's right.
It's Russia, by the way, Venezuela, and, well, those hostile monsters up in Canada. Now, let's set them aside for a moment.
Okay.
Because we can't utilize their oil in the Keystone Pipeline because Biden shut that down. Otherwise, it would have been going down to our Gulf of Mexico for shipping and refining. Instead, it's being tanked out from Vancouver. Thank you so much, President Biden. Where does it go from Vancouver? Asia and China. All right, so take Canada out of the mix. The other three nations, Iran, Venezuela, Russia, and other hostile Middle Eastern countries, they've all been enriched by Biden's oil and energy policies here at home. It has driven up oil to, at one point, it hit $100 a barrel a couple of weeks ago. That finances Hamas. It finances Hezbollah. It finances the Russian tanks rolling over the Ukraine border. Nobody is happier in the world about Biden's energy policies than the dictators in Russia and in the Middle East. All right? So there's that reality. Then you add to the fact that months before the 2022 midterm elections, Joe Biden, facing a slaughter in that election, artificially modified the price of domestic oil and gas here in America by releasing half of our strategic oil reserves.
Yeah.
The strategic petroleum reserves, which were designed by President Eisenhower
to help him get elected, seems
to help. Well, it was designed by Eisenhower to help us through an actual emergency, but it was tapped into just to help.
He considered it an emergency.
It was that was the emergency. Is the Republicans are going to get a 30-seat majority in the House, and so
time
we
to
have
release
to do
the
this.
oil.
Now here we are, after this devastating terror attack. And now concerns that there could very well be a terror attack here at home. And this is exactly when you need the strategic petroleum reserves.
Yeah.
And they're not there. They have been sold off. Half of it was sold off. And by the way, they were full because Donald Trump, when president, purchased huge amounts of reserve oil when gas prices were at their lowest. Right? During COVID-19, to help the oil companies, yes, but also as a smart move, you buy low, you sell high. So Donald Trump bought it all at a price, when gas was $2 a gallon. And now, if we were to buy back as a nation the strategic petroleum reserves, we're paying beyond top dollar because it's so inflated. And even Politico has figured this out. Yesterday, they had an article. But, of course, they have to, do whatever they can. Haven't I told you the secret that Andrew Breitbart told me? Whenever there is a question mark in the headline, it's because they're trying to float. The writer of the article is trying to float an idea without actually taking a stand or pretending like they're taking a stand. So here's the headline at Politico. Biden sold off nearly half the U.S. oil reserve. Is it ready for a crisis? Of course it's not ready for a crisis.
Yeah.
And we're in the middle of a crisis right now.
Yeah.
And that makes things even more dangerous for us.
Yeah. And don't forget, remember right before the midterms last year, Obama made a call to Saudi Arabia asking them to postpone an OPEC decision by a month.
You mean Biden?
Yeah. Did I say?
You said Obama.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Same
it's
thing.
understandable.
I was just talking about the guy really in charge. Anyway, but I mean, this kind of playing around with U.S. oil prices in order to salvage elections and again, I want to remind everyone, and everyone knows I know, but that Trump was impeached for a phone call to Ukraine. But Biden can make these kind of slimy political decisions to really campaign decisions, essentially.
Yeah.
Calling foreign governments, asking them to put off, this OPEC decisions
until after the election,
to release our reserves that put us all in danger, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's perfectly fine. So he has a long sort of history of doing this sort of thing, playing around with our oil in order to help him politically.
Our stockpile of reserve petroleum is at its lowest level since the early 1980s. That was coming off of the Iran hostage crisis and Jimmy Carter-style inflation and stagnation. The only thing that will help this is for a new president to come in and reverse the energy policies that this president has implemented. Julie Gunlock, President Trump got a decision from a judge about whether he can defend himself or not from the charges against him. We'll tell you the details of that. And Sheriff Mike Chapman joins us next.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station.
Making sense of the news.
News Talk 105.9.
News now
On News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 6:37 now on O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in here on a super busy Tuesday morning. They're all busy these days. Julie Gunlock, I'm glad I have you as my wingman here. Wing person, wing individual, wing...
You can call me your wingman. It's fine.
I don't want to get into trouble. You get into trouble these days.
Not with me.
I'd already be in trouble. Let's face it. It's the least of my concerns. Coming up at 7:05, Adam Credo, he writes at the Washington Free Beacon, and he's all over the Iranian influence in our own government. We'll give you all the details. And at 7:35, Dr. Jennifer London, she's got a new book called Profiles in Character. We'll get to that. Speaking of profiles in character, if I may, I think our next guest has proven himself to be a man of great character. He is the sheriff of Loudoun County, one of the last remaining lawmen around who actually enforces the law and keeps his citizens safe, and that's why he needs to be reelected. Sheriff Chapman, thanks for joining us, sir.
Hey, happy to be here, Larry. Thanks. Good to be with you and Julie.
Real fast, just to let you know, Deputy Michael Rivera was just on. You know, he's running for Loudoun County School Board, and he dutifully endorsed you. So you might want to return the favor at some point.
Oh, he's a terrific guy. He'll do fantastic on the school board. So we got to make sure we get behind him.
Glad we got that out of the way. So listen, they're, as usual, throwing whatever they can at you, Sheriff Chapman. You've been through this. The Loudoun County Board of Supervisors wanted to bring in a police department. They did their independent study, and lo and behold, seems like you're doing a pretty okay job there. So what do you think of this campaign and some of the lies that your opponents are throwing at you?
Well, it's typical. It always seems to happen. All we do is we like to rely on our record, Larry. And, if you look at what we've accomplished over the years, since I've been in, our crime's gone down 47%. That's more than double anybody in the area can claim. We've been a leader in crisis intervention training. We've got a nationally recognized school resource officer program. We just concluded last week, we had the Faith in Blue week. We had a Houses of Worship Summit just less than 2 months ago, where we had over 100 different houses of worship in Loudoun County. Members came to that, and we all discussed ways to reach out to us in the event they have any kind of a concern, but also what we can do to help them with the security measures at all the different churches in the community. So I would say that we do well because we have a record of success, because we reach out and stay very connected with the community that we serve, and whether it's houses of worship, whether it's the community meetings that we have, whether it's Child Safety Day, it's just a myriad of things that we do to make sure that we stay very well connected to the citizens we serve.
Yeah, and you really seem to listen to parents that are also concerned in Loudoun County. We've had some cases of people in Loudoun County threatening other parents. It's sort of the Loudoun love warrior issue. Tell us sort of the status of that. Were there any investigations into that, and sort of where does that stand now?
So, believe it or not, we're still looking into that. There were 11 cases that overlapped in there, and it really is complex to try to get through it, to get through all the emails, all the text messages, all the things that we had to subpoena, all the different information on that. And as much as I'd like to, report back on that, it's still under investigation, being appropriate for me to do so. But
sure.
But yeah, there are some things that have gone on in the county that we're really quite concerned about. But one of the things you do mention, Julie, is our connection with the people that we serve. And I can tell you, we have an online reporting system. People can, it's a complaint and compliment system. And every single day, I see every complaint that comes in online and compliment. Fortunately, we still average about 4 compliments to every complaint that we get. But I see everything that comes in, and we assign it. And sometimes I'll call people back myself, and they're surprised that the sheriff is calling them directly.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the connection that we have with the community that we serve, and I think that's why we do so well. Last year, Bloomberg had us as the safest county in the United States. We always rank, with the lowest crime rate, highest citizen satisfaction rating, and even that study that was done to try to make a police department, I think they were looking for something to try to hang on us that showed us, not up to standard, and they couldn't find a single thing. We really outperformed just about everybody in the area.
And it should be pointed out that you're doing this despite the fact that you don't have a whole lot of help from your Commonwealth's Attorney's Office.
Right.
Buddha Bibarai has actually been outspoken about how you're part of the problem, apparently, Sheriff Chapman. I would love for you to respond to that first, but then also, if you should win re-election, what are your main focuses? What's on the horizon for you, and what are you most concerned about to make sure that Loudoun stays as safe as it has been?
Well, the one thing that we haven't stopped, Larry, is enforcing the law, and we're going to continue to do our job. And we try to do the best we can with the resources that we have over there. We do have a good relationship with some of the folks that are in that office there, and are able to get some of the major cases prosecuted. We're going to have a lot to work through here. We want to make sure that we continue to do our job, and in that regard, people are going to be safe. What the ultimate outcomes are. Once we charge somebody, investigate it, and then present it to the Commonwealth Attorney, then it's kind of like it's kind of in a way out of our hands. But we do the best to continue to pursue, everything to the best of our ability there. As far as crime goes, we're just trying to stay on top of everything. I mean, we see property crime. We see we want to make sure that we're always on top of all these other issues like domestic assaults and that sort of thing. We're going to be starting a new victim assistance unit that we're going to announce here probably next week. The details on that. So we have a lot of things that are going on that are.
And Sheriff, I just also want this more of a comment rather than a question, but you've also hosted some in-depth forums on fentanyl and drugs in the county, and I think that is really important. You're really taking a leadership role in that, so I appreciate that. I know parents are very concerned about that as well.
Well, we have, and that is a problem. I mean, there was 110,000 people that died last year from overdoses, mostly fentanyl, about 70%. The year before it was 108. So those numbers continue to rise. We're staying stable, and actually, if you look at our population, it's kind of coming down a little bit. Yeah. But we're very proactive. We had a fentanyl forum just about a week and a half ago. We had 10 experts from mental health to treatment to law enforcement, just everybody across the board, because we want everybody to know all the aspects of this. And we know not any one thing is the solution to this. We have to look at all the different options that we have to try to help get through this crisis.
That said, Sheriff Chapman, there is this one stretch on Route 7 heading into Ashburn that is obviously a speed trap. And if we can wait until after the election, we can talk. I mean, the good news is Route 7 is usually at a standstill, so no one's going to be speeding. But
a little bit, that's all.
Yeah, I've had my moments there. I just want to always look in the rearview mirror. Thank you, Sheriff Chapman. Good luck on the re-election. Always good to talk with you.
Well, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you. That is Sheriff Michael Chapman, barely tolerating my chicanery. The website is reelectsheriffchapman.com. You know what to do, Loudoun County. It is 6:44. You know that feeling of relief when you have a problem solved and at a lower price? So President Trump had a day in court yesterday as Judge Tanya Chutkan, who is basically on a personal jihad against Donald Trump. She has already shown herself to be an anti-Trump zealot. She said so in open court, saying that she wished openly that Trump had been arrested for his activities in January 6th. And now here she is adjudicating the actual case that she openly opined that she was hoping for. So right there you would think that she would step down, but she refused to recuse herself. Anyway, she's made one more decision, an absolutely unprecedented announcement where President Trump is not allowed to comment about Special Counsel Jack Smith or his staff or the court staff or the judge or any potential witnesses in the case. This is a man who's running for president who has to deal with this unprecedented situation where you've got media and his opponents constantly saying, he's facing criminal charges, insurrection, criminal charges, and he can't say anything publicly to defend himself.
Yeah, and Chutkin, I mean, if you're watching Julie Kelly on this, she has great coverage on this on X. It's just her disdain for President Trump. She is so the judge. Yeah. I'm sorry, not Julie's. No, Judge Chutkin's obvious disdain for President Trump. She has no business being in charge of this case.
And everyone knew how she was going to rule here. And there's no. It's we're living in a country where the man who is running for president, his opponent, the sitting president, his Justice Department has arrested his political opponent. That's kind of a political issue.
Yes.
And Donald Trump has every right to step up and say, the guy I'm running against has put a criminal case against me. Well, and if he criticizes that criminal case or suggests that the Justice Department is in any way corrupted by the President of the United States, that's violating this order.
He's arrested. Also, they're charging him with things that speak to his character.
Right.
So you should be able to talk about and defend yourself against these charges, especially if you're, running for president.
The decision came down yesterday afternoon. And so last night, President Trump was at an appearance giving a speech. Guess what he did? He talked about it.
Yeah. A judge gave a gag order today. Did you hear that on speech? Which I believe is totally unconstitutional what she did. A judge gave a gag order. A judge doesn't like me too much. Her whole life is not liking me. But she gave a gag order. You know what a gag order is? You can't speak badly about your opponent. But this is weaponry all being done because Joe Biden is losing the election and losing very, very badly to all of us.
That's right. And so we'll see if that's in violation of the gag order. If that, what are they going to do? Seriously, what are they going to do? And this is the kind of thing that should be fast-tracked to the Supreme Court. Well, Jack Smith wants fines.
Jack Smith has said he wants fines associated with when he talks about this and possible jail time. So we asked what they can do. Well, they seem to, there's no stopping them.
And here's the interesting thing. If Joe Biden has an interview or gives a speech or a public appearance,
he can talk about this.
That's right.
Absolutely.
He can say, my opponent is under indictment. My opponent is accused of. His opponent has been accused by the prosecutors that Joe Biden has hired.
Yes.
And he can talk about it, which, by the way, would taint the jury pool in the trial. Right. He can say whatever he wants, but the man who's actually he can't actually speak up to defend himself.
Who will want to defend himself against these charges in a campaign will now face crippling fines.
Sanctions,
and honestly, I know that he's, Trump's a billionaire. He's fighting multiple lawsuits. Okay, this stuff costs money, so he's now going to be fined. He could face jail. This is serious stuff. And when you say, what can they do? They're going to do whatever they can.
Well, they'll throw him in jail.
They will.
If they have to.
Absolutely.
6:52.
Making sense of your world.
Thank you for everything you do for this country. We need more of you.
News Talk 105.9.